There's only one ultra-low ash heavy-duty engine oil. Chevron Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology. No other diesel engine oil defends like this one to reduce DPF clogging and extend DPF service life, extend drain intervals, and improve fuel efficiency. It's proven performance that keeps your truck ready for action on the work sites and on the weekend. For confidence in every mile, choose Chevron Delo 600 ADF.
From Washington, D.C., this is RoadSigns with your host, Seth Clevenger.
Thank you for listening to RoadSigns, the podcast series from Transport Topics that explores the trends and technologies that are shaping the future of trucking. In this episode, we're going to take a fresh look at the truck parking shortage. Professional truck drivers encounter plenty of challenges out on the road, but one of the biggest is insufficient access to safe and convenient places to park a heavy-duty truck. Fortunately, we're seeing growing support for government investment to help ease the truck parking crunch, but there's also a huge opportunity for businesses and property owners to open up more parking locations for truckers. So how can a combination of public and private investment improve access to suitable parking for commercial trucks? We'll set out to answer that question in this episode. But before we begin, I'd like to invite you to keep up to date on this topic and other important industry issues by subscribing to Transport Topics at ttn.ws/ttsubscribe. You can also text TT-subscribe to 571-622-0001. One of the businesses working to resolve the truck parking issue is Truck Parking Club, which partners with property owners across the country to open up their lots for reserved paid truck parking. Back in September, I spoke with Reed Loustalot, the company's chief marketing officer, at the Intermodal Association of North America's annual expo. Let's play that conversation. We're here in Long Beach, California at IANA's 2025 Intermodal Expo, and I'm very excited to catch up with Truck Parking Club's chief marketing officer, Reed Loustalot. Welcome to the podcast, Reed. It's great to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Seth.
You're overdue. We hadn't had you on yet.
I'm happy to be here. Happy to be in Long Beach.
Yeah, and truck parking is one of those topics that just never goes away. It's just such a persistent pain point for drivers. And, we usually think about it in the context of over-the-road trucking. That's where the pain is felt most severely. But clearly this affects the broader supply chain as well. It's all interconnected. So this is a real issue for intermodal operations as well. Mm-hmm. Reed, just tell me why a lack of available and safe truck parking can cause inefficiencies for intermodal freight as well.
Yeah, sure. So it's actually been, one of the reasons why we're here, among the couple we're here, is really to learn from drayage carriers, from railroads, from those sorts of operators, kind of how the issue affects them. And what we've learned the last couple of days is, example from a railroad, pull containers out of a port or an inland port or a rail yard or something like that. You don't have somewhere to take them. Like, you're kind of SOL. So sometimes they might pull, a drayage carrier might pull containers out of a port, but a shipper or their customer doesn't have a place to put them. They don't have their own yard. Maybe their yard's full, and they're like, okay, where do we put these things? So, and that could be chassis, it could be loaded containers, it could be empty containers, it could be stacking containers, it could be, any number of different things. So, I think lack of space affects them just as much as it does drivers. Obviously, it's a different issue. You don't see containers being dropped on ramps and off ramps, so perhaps it's not as much of a safety thing as much as it is a efficiency or a productivity thing for these companies. But it is still an issue for their business, and they still need places to store equipment and stage equipment and stuff like that. So we're here. One, learning those things, and two, we do a lot of work with drayage carriers. We have a lot of locations around the ports. Pretty much every port we have significant coverage around, and they're always in need of space. And oftentimes they have a lot of space themselves too. Maybe locations they don't use as much, or they're already doing some sort of container storage as a business, as a side business, and they are interested or have heard about the truck parking issue. So a lot of reasons why we're here.
Yeah, and it's an interesting opportunity to, for companies to help each other out, right?
Sure.
If they have the capacity, if they have the space at a certain location to let some other folks in the industry and help the whole system out, which is a big part of what you do, of course, at Truck Parking Club.
Yep.
Another topic I wanted to bring up was this study that Truck Parking Club commissioned by industry economist Noël Perry. He's well known, but one of the top takeaways was that insufficient truck parking causes $100 billion in lost productivity per year. Now, there's suitable parking for commercial trucks all over the country, but the overwhelming majority of it is dedicated to specific fleets, not open to the public. So this is, again, getting to this issue we're talking about. So in your view, what does the report tell us about the state of truck parking in the U.S. today? Any other takeaways that you really wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just from a high level about why we did what we did. We wanted to, obviously we're participants in this marketplace, and we wanted to have our own understanding of, okay, what's the demand look like? How many trucks are on the road? How many trucks need a place to park on a daily basis? How many spaces are supplied by the marketplace? So what's the supply? We wanted to arrive at a shortage number, and we wanted to understand what that shortage costs the industry, from drivers individually to the fleets to obviously the industry as a whole. And then going further, we wanted to understand how many spaces are out there that are suitable but aren't accessible. And so that was really kind of and then we wanted to share that with the world because it's interesting information, and obviously we're not the only ones playing in this domain trying to solve this important problem, and we view ourselves as a part of the solution. And the more information we can share with the world, the more likely folks might be able to use that information to rally around their own unique contribution to the solution. So yeah, I think our takeaway was one, it's a dire issue that costs folks dearly, costs drivers, in terms of compensation, productivity, safety, just well-being. It causes a lot of anxiety on the job. So there's tons of costs on the individuals, but it's also just a huge drag on the productivity of the whole system. And so it's really it paints a very dire picture. But I think our takeaway is a hopeful one, which is there's a ton of opportunity to leverage space that's out there that literally could park trucks tomorrow if there was plumbing going to those locations and the owners were said yes, right? And which is exactly what we do. So I think we really see our role to play in this problem as like contributing spaces immediately. Like drivers need parking today, not in 5 years or in 10 years. And we need as much of it as possible, as soon as possible. And that's what we do, provide scalable solutions quickly, and then we'll do our part to support the folks lobbying on Capitol Hill, trying to get more rest area, free parking, all that stuff, federal dollars, local dollars allocated to that. We'll support that because obviously at the end of the day, it's all about providing as many options as possible. Even if, like, the number we arrived at from a shortage standpoint is 1.7 million spaces on a daily basis. If we were tomorrow to add 1.7 million spaces to our network, that wouldn't mean that the job's over, right? Game over, we're all going home. Obviously, going further, we want to create a world where drivers don't have to think about parking like they do now. They don't have to, it doesn't have to be such a kind of like anxiety-provoking thing. We don't want folks to start their day thinking, where the heck am I going to park at the end of the day? We want to create, much like when you drive your car, you're like, oh, I don't have to think about it. I can just go wherever I want. I know I'm going to have a place to park, and that's that. Creating that world for drivers is obviously, a little bit different with a 70-foot long vehicle, sometimes longer. But that's a world that we're kind of working towards. So we need as many spaces as we can get.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's both government funding for parking, and as well as the private industry bringing more capacity to the market and opening more up to the public. When you think about again, the ways to address this, you can think of this as both a capacity issue and a utilization issue, right? I mean, want more space, also want to better utilize the space that's available. How do you think about that sort of the balance between the capacity issue and the utilization issue when you think about the truck parking issue?
I think obviously we're focused on utilization. That's our contribution. We don't buy, build, or invest in construction. Other folks do. The private sector does that. There are companies out there buying and building, and obviously the government and state and local and federal departments of transportation are all and Secretary Duffy's done a lot in his short tenure so far to aid in that, and that's great. we're just doing our thing, focused on utilization of existing space, because we believe strongly that there is a lot of it out there, and that there are willing property owners who, if you can make it easy for them, which is not a trivial thing to do by any means. We like to think we make it look easy, but at the end of the day, it's taken a lot of time. It's taken years for us to kind of really make it easy for property owners to say, okay, I have space. Yes, I'll park trucks. Yes, that's all I have to do is provide the space, and Truck Parking Club will handle the rest. And we've done that, and I think, kind of the proof's in the pudding. We're 2,800 locations. I think I'm jumping ahead to something further along your talking points. We're at 2,815 locations at this point. I think actually more, about 47,000 spaces, and we're adding 10 to 15 a day at this point. We added like 320 last month. New locations, but we're still, if you look at the 1.7 million shortage number, we're not even close to done. So we've got a long way to go, and we're just going to continue to pound the pavement on that, adding as much space as we can every day, because really at the end of the day, drivers do need solutions today. Like, this isn't like a next year or a 10-year thing. You need solutions today. Like, you need solutions today. So that's what we're focused on.
Got it. So Reed, you joined Truck Parking Club, about a year and a half ago?
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken. And now you originally got in this industry as a freight broker, right?
Correct.
And you became, obviously one of the more recognizable social media figures in the industry. Responsible for all those Please Advise hats we see online and around at trade shows. But I'm curious, what was your view and understanding of truck parking prior to joining Truck Parking Club? I imagine you still encountered it to some extent, in previous stops in your career. But what attracted you to this specific business and helping to solve this particular industry issue? And what have you learned about it along the way?
Sure, yeah. So I was a carrier sales rep at Echo Global Logistics for about five years and some change. And I don't know if there was a single day that went by where a driver didn't ask me if they could park at the shipper or the receiver for the load that I was putting them on.
Yep.
Every single day, without fail. And so I never really thought to dig into why they were asking me that. It just made sense. Like, obviously, where's the perfect place to park if you're doing a load? Well, it's at the shipper and it's at the receiver. Like, why would you not want to park there? Like, most efficient utilization of your hours, you get there as soon as you can, shut down, you're there when your appointment starts, like, great. 9.9 times out of 10, the answer was no.
Yeah.
Shippers and receivers, warehouses in general, overwhelmingly in my experience, obviously I don't have any significant data other than my anecdotes to back that up, other than Noel's numbers, that 99, that's probably actually data we could point to, but from my experience, nobody ever said yes.
Yeah.
One, I would call them and I would ask. The first couple times drivers asked me this, I would call the warehouse, which is not a trivial thing to do because oftentimes the phone numbers are wrong. Yeah. They don't like answering phones there. You get them on the phone. If you can even get someone on the phone, 9 times out of 10, they're like, no way. Like, you can't park here. I'm sorry. Like, or not even, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
And so that was my experience, and I that was something I heard every single day for years. And so that was kind of just a footnote in my brain. And I met Evan at a FreightWave show in 2023 in June, and we just kind of became friends, and we were both kind of doing our thing. I was, I had a bunch of different things going on. I was selling hats. I had made some software of my own. I was selling to small carriers, kind of a marketing tool. I was doing online freight events in a Discord channel, and I was just kind of screwing around in some ways too. But we became friends, and he had launched the business about 6 months prior, and he was like, do you want to come on and help with social media and kind of just with marketing stuff on the side? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, that sounds good. I liked Evan. I liked kind of his idea, and he told me his story, and we kind of hit it off quickly. And I think that was August of 23 when I started kind of just on the side, so about 2 years ago. And then I did that for 6 months. I got to know the team. Obviously, I got to know the issue more. I got to talk a lot more drivers about what's going on. And I became acquainted with just the solution, or our version of the solution, or our contribution to the solution, however you want to phrase it. And I was just like, right team, right model, right problem, right customer base. I know drivers pretty intimately. I've worked with them for a long time, and let's go. Let's do it. So I joined full time. April of 24, and rest is history. We've been hustling ever since. I think we had 300 locations when I joined full time. We had like less than 100 when I started part time. So it's kind of crazy. Every 6 months we kind of come up for air, and we're like, holy cow! Like, what has happened in the last 6 months? It's just been crazy. I think we passed 1,000 locations in end of November last year. So we've almost tripled since then. So yeah.
The momentum has continued.
Yeah.
I think there's an interesting way that this can grow. I mean, right now, clearly, it's paid parking on this network available to drivers, but and that's typically right what's happening here. The drivers are paying to reserve parking spaces, but you're also making it easier for fleets to offer parking benefits, as a perk for their drivers, right? Obviously, driver turnover rates in our industry are sometimes absurd how high they are.
Yep.
And building loyalty with your driver base is so important if you're a carrier.
Yep.
Do you see this becoming really a driver retention tool for fleets in the future? To what extent? Obviously you're rolling this out, you're making this possible, but to what extent do you have fleets already doing this?
Yep.
Paying for their drivers to park on your using your platform today, and what's the pathway to making that easy?
Yep.
And again, a viable option for fleets to offer as a perk for their drivers.
Yeah, we are working to make that much easier. We have kind of very deliberately started with a bottom-up approach to marketing to drivers first and foremost. Because if we had gone into a large fleet, 2 years ago and said, hey, look at our 50 locations, like, how about you give all your drivers the benefit of access to these 50 locations? They would have been like, who the heck are you? Why are you in my office? Get out of here. And so we kind of just focused on onboarding supply as quickly as we could and just getting it in front of drivers in all the places that they would go and look for it. And so, obviously we've got a good mix of owner ops, company drivers, dispatchers doing bookings. But we do see a lot of company drivers do pay for it themselves. And we do ask ourselves, does that even make sense? Like, should that be the case? Should that not be the case? Either way, regardless of what we think, we are working to make it as easy as possible for fleets to provide this to their drivers. And we think we're at a scale now where we, have way more locations and can provide, something that's actually got a lot of utility for a fleet and for their drivers, both from a safety standpoint and from a productivity standpoint and from a quality of life standpoint. Two, we've also got the kind of the credibility of, like, oftentimes these large fleets, like, we've had, I think 75 plus of the top 100 fleets have done bookings with us. And we can go into a meeting and we can say, hey, 500 of your drivers have booked with us on their own.
Yeah.
They've gone out of their way and used their own money oftentimes to pay for parking with us. We're clearly providing something that they find useful, else they wouldn't be doing it. Like, we've got all these locations now. We've created this organization structure where a fleet can onboard all their drivers under a sub-account and either share a payment method or provide them kind of like a monthly benefit into a wallet. So like I could say, hey, I'm going to give all 50 of my drivers $50 a month, and it's going to be auto deposited into their wallet, and the driver can use it as they see fit. We've got that now. So and we brought Brent on. Obviously, Brent Hutto, he's got a lot of relationships with top fleets, and he's kind of spearheading that operation. And so we've kind of got all of the pieces we think to be able to go to fleets with compelling offer. And we do think retention is going to be a huge part of that because we hear from drivers every day how much of a pain it is for them to wake up every single day not having any idea where they're going to park at the end of their shift. They don't know if they're going to be able to drive all 11 hours. They might stop 4 hours early. They might stop an hour early. They might stop 5 hours early. And it's just so consistent. And we think that over, if you just add all those numbers up, and that's something we were looking at in the study, is like it becomes a gigantic number very quickly from just a loss of productive time. I mean, it's a significant drain on the entire industry. And we think if we kind of come to fleets with this message and we make it easy for them, because at the end of the day, like, if it's not easy, then they're not going to do it, right? And there's a reason why a lot of fleets don't reimburse their drivers for parking. What are they going to do? Like, have the driver get a printed receipt from some random guy that they paid $20 cash, at some random lot they don't know anything about. Like, it makes sense. I mean, it's an accounting issue, it's a visibility issue, it's just a headache.
Yeah.
And if we can make it easy, and we can provide as many locations, we can provide visibility, we can provide them one line item. We're going to continue to break down all of the reasons why they say no, and hopefully flip as many as we can to yeses. And long term, I think the fleets that do that will become known for providing that, and drivers will come to expect it, and hopefully it'll change the way the industry works.
Yeah. Again, it's solving the pain points, I think, is a big part of improving those retention numbers, right?
For sure.
And I think that you see that among the carriers that do have lower retention or lower turnover rates. Part of it, of course, is just the routes you run and your pay, but
For sure.
Beyond that, driver-friendly policies can go a long way. You touched on some of the latest metrics in terms of the network expansion. Maybe a quick recap of some of those, but also, do you have goals as to how far do you want to go? I mean, probably there's no limit, but what's the kind of critical mass for number of locations or coverage across the whole freight network across the U.S.?
Yeah, so we're right now we're at 2,820 or something like that. I didn't check this morning yet, but we're in 49 states. We just added our first Alaska property a couple weeks ago. We've already gotten a couple bookings there, believe it or not. And it's kind of near Fairbanks. It's an interesting spot, but apparently there's need up there. Who would have thunk? So 49 states, 2,820 locations, 47,000 spaces. We're trying to get to 10,000 by the end of next year.
Okay.
Why 10,000? It's a nice big round number. By no means do we think we're going to have solved the issue. It's probably going to still be a maybe double-digit percentage contribution towards the issue. If we say the issue is 1.7 million spaces, we're probably going to have a couple 100,000 at that point. Maybe 1 to 200,000. So still a long way to go from there. But I think we will be at like some level of scale at that point. We're going to continue to really hammer on those on the fleet solution, providing that, making that as easy as possible. But I think we'll have a very compelling offer when we can essentially throw a stone in any major metro and hit one of our locations. Because at the end of the day, like, if you're a driver going to the northwest corner of the Chicago suburbs to deliver, like, it doesn't matter if Truck Parking Club has 50 locations on the south side. Like, that's not going to work for me. Like, that's not the right place for me to park the right place, like, in terms of efficiency and route planning. So, like, we need locations literally everywhere.
Yeah.
In every metro, on every side of the city. You need to be able to provide as many options as possible, because ultimately, like, that's what creates a world where where parking your trucks is easy as parking your cars, when you have locations literally everywhere. Not just on the highways, not just right on the right near the ramps, not just near all the DCs, because drivers park in certain places for a million different reasons, right? It might be near their house, it might be near their driver's house, it might be near their customer, who knows? And the more options, the better, because that just makes the job easier for drivers when there's more options.
Just having that flexibility.
Yeah.
And just zooming out a bit, as we all know, it's been a very tough freight market, really, for 3+ years now. We're still in this situation with too much capacity, it's holding down freight rates, and operating costs at the same time continue to rise in the trucking industry. It's more expensive, and you're doing the work for less pay, and you're making less money. So when margins are so tight, I think it's more important than ever to really maximize productivity.
Sure.
And you touched on this earlier, but parking is really a productivity issue. Drivers can't afford to lose that time they would spend searching for truck parking, or just stop early for the day just because they know they can park at this location. I have X number of hours left, but I'm just going to park for the day just because I don't know where we're going to find to park safely if I continue. That's lost productivity. Maybe just take a moment here to explain in maybe a little more detail why parking is a productivity issue for the trucking industry.
I mean, we hear this all the time. I got fuel, I had 3 hours left on my clock, I'm in a spot, should I go or should I stay? I don't know if I'm going to get parking 3 hours down the road. I'm going to stay put. And for, or else I might end up on a ramp or somewhere I shouldn't be, or worse, like get yourself in a bad position. And obviously all of those places to park, you are exposing yourself to risk.
Yep.
From a safety standpoint and from a ticketing standpoint or anything like that. And obviously the towing issue is a huge thing too. We haven't even talked about that. I mean, predatory towing is also a big issue. So at the end of the day, it's like maximizing your hours every single day is like the North Star. For fleets, when we talk to fleet managers, fleet executives, and to the drivers, because it affects them all in their own way, it's like, that is what you need to do, and to the extent that you can do that, and to the extent that parking and paying for parking can enable you to do that, then it's not just like a net loss, right? It's an exchange of value. It's an exchange of getting more time, and it's a peace of mind exchange, knowing that you can set your sights on a place and be like, okay, I'm gonna go 500 miles, 600 miles, whatever my clock is gonna allow me to do, and I know I'm gonna have a spot, so I don't have to think about it. Right, and that's like a mental weight off of you too. So, and it's hard to quantify that. I mean, that probably factors into the turnover figure for fleets. But yeah, and there's a cost. Oftentimes, it's like, this might sound crazy to say, but it's like free parking is like air quotes. You know what I mean? Like if you're losing 5 hours because you would rather park in a free spot versus spend $15 to drive 5 more hours, like that spot's not actually free.
Yeah.
It's not actually free. Yeah. It's just the cost of it is not in your face. You know what I mean? That's something that's hard to quantify, but it's there nonetheless. And so there is kind of an education component that when we go to talk to fleets, we are kind of saying these things, and at first they're like, you're crazy, but then we're like, well, think about it this way, and they're like, oh yeah, our drivers do stop early a lot, like they do park in a free spot and waste 5 hours, and maybe like if they could drive 5 more hours and spend $15, like that's probably worth it for us. Like, and you make it easy for us to do that, and we can keep track of it all, and it's all, we get tremendous visibility about what we're getting at each location, and you have customer service to help us if there's issues and all of these things, and you provide us rewards, like we do cash back and all this stuff. Okay, like we're in. So I think to the extent that we can get better about showing to carriers how, kind of putting the numbers in their face about how much we're gaining them, which is something that we're really actually in the early stages of trying to figure out how to do. We'll get there, but the anecdotes are enough to keep us going at this point. So and we're only just talking about daily parking, right? We're not talking about dropping trailers or all the other things people are using us for. Like, it's very easy to forget that we do a whole heck of a lot more than just daily parking, and obviously that's the big issue. That's what everyone talks about. But we're really enabling fleets to do things that they've never been able to do before, or it's kind of modes of operating that have only been available to folks with the resources to sign long-term leases on property or buy property or stuff like that. So we hear from carriers all the time that, I can rent 5 spaces to drop trailers at near my customer that's on the other side of the country, and I'm chasing business that I was never able to do before because I wasn't going to go out and sign a 12-month lease or a multi-year lease on a piece of property that I don't know if I'm going to need it in a month. You know what I mean? And so when you can offer that level of flexibility to folks, it's like they're able to kind of get their brain working. We're seeing folks use this, fleets and drivers use this in all sorts of creative ways that we would have never thought of, right? And it's kind of being exposed to us, and it's super interesting.
All about the flexibility. If you have the ability, what can you do?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and hopefully it makes fleets more successful. They're able to chase new business. They're able to do things in a different way, and they're able to get creative. And ultimately, that's what options provide you to. Like flexible options, on demand, no long-term contracts, only pay if you need it, only pay if you use it. Like that flexibility is just going to unlock all sorts of stuff for every single type of operation. Drayage providers, potentially railroads, truckload carriers, LTL carriers, all of them, private fleets, all of them are using us in their own way. And that's what's really exciting about this for me, is because we don't even tell them to do it. they just figure it out, and they're like, hey, we're using you this way, and we're like, oh wow, we didn't even think about that. Like, that's really cool. So we got to, it's my job to kind of tell that story to the world, to invite more people to kind of come up with their own creative ways to use us.
Yeah.
Our trucks haul rocks, not blueberries, but they still have to get there on time. There is no slack in our schedules. These trucks can't break down. I choose an engine oil that takes care of the number one issue we have with emissions in our diesel engines, DPF clogging. It keeps our trucks on the road so we can deliver the loads that keep our customers in business and happy. Our reputation is on the line with every load. I wouldn't trust any other oil to protect it. I choose Dello 600 ADF.
And shifting gears a little bit here, but I did want to touch base on another important industry topic that we've heard a lot about here at IANA and most trade shows in the industry these days, and that's cargo theft.
Yeah.
And I ask about that because Truck Parking Club is partnered with freight intelligence company GenLogs, and the idea here is to share data with law enforcement to help fight cargo theft. It's becoming a bigger and bigger issue and a real headwind for the industry. But tell us a bit about the partnership with GenLogs and how this can help a little bit in this cargo theft issue.
Yeah, so we get inbound inquiries from law enforcement occasionally about, have you seen this trailer? Yeah. Have you seen this piece of equipment at any of your locations? And we are friends with GenLogs. I've known Ryan for a while. Evan's known Ryan for a while, and they kind of, in conversation with them, discovered that they obviously, for a great reason, get a lot of inbound interest from law enforcement. And they've kind of built the infrastructure to share that data with law enforcement, and they've really built a way to kind of verify these are legitimate sources, like they need this data, here's the way to present it, and they obviously have a whole background in kind of government work. And so we talked to GenLogs and we're like, hey, if we just give it to you and you kind of are able to shape it in a way that makes it accessible to law enforcement, then that's probably the best place for it, and we're happy to provide it. So yeah, we're excited to work with them. I think they're onto something that's super cool and interesting, and it's obviously a huge issue for the industry, and to the extent that we can contribute information that might aid investigations or prevent theft or anything like that, I mean, we're all for that.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground here, Reed, but before we wrap it up, I just want to give you an opportunity here. Any parting thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners, or anything we didn't get to?
No, I mean, I would just encourage folks who don't know anything about us to really kind of try to, listen to what we say we're doing, right? Because I think there's a lot of folks out there who don't actually understand what we do or what we're trying to do, or really anything about us, and I would encourage folks to just listen and form your own opinion based on the words we say and what we put out into the world and what you see us doing, and we're trying to share more of the driver stories of folks who are parking with us, so we're really emphasizing that, but we've in a short amount of time built a huge network, and we're growing as fast as we possibly can. We think we're providing a serious piece of the solution to a serious problem today, and I would also just encourage folks to think about the ways they can leverage us. We have something to say, to offer to brokers, to drayage carriers, to private fleets, to owner ops, to large fleets, to everyone. Basically everybody has a way to use us. And I haven't even talked about all the folks who might have space that they can put on with us. And really, at the end of the day, I think what we're building is kind of like an ecosystem, and really it's kind of value exchange primarily between participants in this industry we all know and love, right? Like meaningful income for a trucking company who has a couple extra spaces on their yard, right? We are providing that to them, and it's easy to just think like, because our brand is there, that it's like, it's just us, you're just paying us, but you're actually paying the majority of the money you spend with us to a property owner, to a small business owner, to a trucking company, to a repair shop, so we're really building this like kind of economy, and long term, I think the things we're going to be able to do are going to be incredibly impactful for hopefully millions of people, and hopefully we'll make the industry better, and we'll solve an important issue, and obviously we'll support folks who are solving the issue in their own way. And I mean, I think I'm just tremendously excited, and I hope folks keep an open mind about us and look into us and take what we say seriously, and if they have space, list it with us. If you're a driver and you need parking, go to truckparkingclub.com. I don't know when this comes out. When's this going to come out?
Don't have a firm date, but within the next few weeks.
Okay, cool. I was going to share our Driver Appreciation Week promo code, but it'll probably be over by then.
It will be over by then, but the fact
that
you have it is good.
We do promotions literally all the time. If you sign up on our site on truckparkingclub.com, you'll get our newsletter on Fridays. We have a promo code in there for taking surveys and answering questions every single week. So we give a lot of parking away. So yeah, just check us out.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. It's been fun to watch, and the company grow, and it will be fun to continue watching as you continue to build this out, and your customers find ways to hopefully make their lives easier and become more efficient.
Yep.
Reed, thanks for having taken the time out of the show to be on, and great to talk with you. Thanks for sharing your insights.
Thanks for having me, Seth. Always good to talk.
You bet.
Before we close, let's take a moment to revisit our original question. How can a combination of public and private investment help alleviate the commercial truck parking shortage? Government funding to expand truck parking and build new rest areas is one important way to address this issue and improve the nation's freight transportation system. But at the same time, there's a clear opportunity to improve the industry's parking network by opening up opportunities at existing logistics yards, lots, and other private locations. Together, these private and public efforts to improve access to parking will give professional drivers more choices and opportunities to stop and rest, which will help reduce stress on truckers and, ultimately, streamline the movement of freight. If you've enjoyed this episode of Road Signs, please let others know. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If my questions have sparked questions of your own, share them with me and the Road Signs team. You can email us at share@ttnews.com. Also, let us know how we did by texting TT Survey to 571-622-0001. And of course, we'll be back soon with a fresh episode of Road Signs. Until then, I'm Seth Clevenger. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us. Road Signs is a Transport Topics production.